And what we're seeking to do here is to introduce a new order that anybody can apply for, be you a victim of domestic violence in an ongoing situation, or perhaps somebody who has just started to experience harassment from somebody and therefore would be excluded from applying for, barring or protection orders. This would allow an applicant to get a judge to award an order of no contact whatsoever from a named person. These orders exist in other countries where they work, for example, in Scotland. Now, the purpose of this bill is to respond to the epidemic levels of violence against women that we are seeing. We've already seen recent cases last year where thousands of people marched to say, I believe her, or we stand with her, in response to victim blaming and rape trials. We've also seen that this is not consent protests. We've seen Me Too as a global phenomenon. We've seen Time's Up. But we've seen very little concrete change coming forward from this Dáil in response to such demand. And while we've had a savvy report which was conceded on the back of protests that took place, this is now another very concrete thing we can do. It comes after requests from women who've experienced domestic violence. Jessica Bowes approached me about this in recent months. People may know Jessica spoke on The Late Late Show, on Prime Time, about the horrific assault that she experienced. But she explained that in the days leading up to that attack, she got increased contact from her ex-partner, some of it of a so-called romantic, harmless-looking nature, that you could not go to a guard and say, he's breaching the barring order. Those declarations of undying love would then turn into much more menacing, to emotional abuse, to psychological manipulation. This is somebody who did have a barring order. So what we are trying to do, she is extremely anxious that we would adopt something like this, and has initiated the bill with me. But the order also can be accessed by somebody who hasn't gone that far in an emotionally or physically abusive relationship. We all know that young women can experience sexual harassment. We're trying to alert people to early warning signs, to red flags, but what power are we actually giving them if they want to challenge this from an early stage? Somebody should be able to stop contact from somebody they feel upset, distressed or fearful of. There is no entitlement, or should not be, for somebody to contact anyone that they like, regardless of the impact. So what we're trying to do here is to prevent, not mourn, to empower women, or it could be, by the way, obviously somebody who is male or LGBT or whatever. But obviously we are also talking about women who've been the victims of this ongoing harassment. Now, no contact orders would, for example, in Scotland, they're called non-harassment orders. And the way that this bill works is that it would allow an applicant only have to cite 2 occasions or episodes where they have felt such harassment, where they felt alarm or distress. In other words, it wouldn't be open to a judge to use their own subjective impression. There would be a baseline that's there. And I think that this is very important, because we have seen a lack sometimes of education on the part of some judges. And I think that this is clear, it's simple. They have it in Scotland, a very similar jurisdiction, very similar culture to our own. They were introduced some years ago, and now they are used by people who are in relationships. We are asking that the Minister would actually adopt this, would agree to amend the Domestic Violence Act himself, that we wouldn't even have to wait to get private members' time or whatever, but that it would be something that would be taken on board rather quickly. This is a pernicious form of control. Don Hennessy, who has studied this area, talks about the way that somebody in such a relationship can be manipulated by messages, either by phone or on social media, as well as, of course, physical contact. And just in finishing, it's by no means going to solve the problem, but we also need massive resources put into this area. We need to stop the cuts to the Rape Crisis Centre, to Women's Aid. We need to also introduce an RSE programme into schools where this issue of coercive control of violence and gender-based violence will be central and will be taught in all schools. And we need this throughout society, in workplaces and in colleges as well. I so move the bill.
Motion for leave to introduce is therefore agreed. Can I ask Deputy Coppinger to move that the bill be taken in private members' time?
I so move.
Is that agreed? Agreed. Thank you very much. We move now to item number 13, which is a motion